What's up? Welcome in. Happy Black Wednesday, as I guess they call it. I think the kids call it that.
Blackout Wednesday.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay. Blackout Wednesday, which is definitely what Johnson's doing tonight.
No.
No, I mean,
No. You were young once. And everybody comes home for the holidays.
Yeah.
Everybody's home from college. Everybody goes to the local bar. Everybody's really hungover for Thanksgiving.
And then happy Thanksgiving. Are you going to enjoy a nice meal tonight at the place we would usually go to the night before a game?
No, we're flying out late to Detroit.
Oh, that was the best part.
Everyone's got different travel plans this year. There's a few reporters who are driving. A few of us are taking later flights. A few of us are going to be in Detroit for a couple nights. So we'll have a nice meal tomorrow night together as beat writers.
Okay. Well, I cannot say that I'm jealous you're going to Detroit for Thanksgiving. I will be working too, but I will be able to have a Thanksgiving dinner with my family tomorrow night, which I am looking forward to. Regardless, the Bears are headed to Detroit again. Johnson's headed to Detroit, and
Again.
and we've some things to talk. There's some traditions here that we got to talk about. But first, make sure you are following us. HogeJahns.com is where you go to get the merch, and we have a Black Friday sale coming your way, by the way, on our website. It's starting Thursday, HogeJahns.com. You'll be able to get discounts on all of our merch, including our brand new shirt, Every Yard Matters. So that's coming your way. Let's see. Let me get the exact time on this. Starting Thursday at 7 p.m. It'll run through Sunday. 33% off the entire store at HogeJahns.com. So great time to stock up. Hoodie Johns is wearing, our quarter zips, our polos, a lot of great stuff on there. So go check that out, HogeJahns.com. You can also follow us at Adam Hoge, at Adam Johns. I am actually locked out of my Twitter account right now. I got a new phone the other day, and for some reason, it was the one thing that didn't transfer over, and now I'm locked out. So I'm going to encourage you to go follow me over there on Blue Sky.
Blueski.
Blueski?
They have to do something with the handles in Blueski. They're just too long.
Why are we calling it Blueski?
Because Mark Potash calls it Blueski. But call it Blue Sky if you want. It's just we don't need the Blue Sky as part of all our handles.
It's a little. There's reasons for it that are like you can customize the domain. It's very technical. It's nerdy. We don't need to talk about it, but it's actually supposed to make your account more secure and personal. Regardless, I'm over there at adamhogue.blueski.blah, blah, blah. So
see what I mean?
Yeah.
They didn't think about that part.
Just look up my name. You'll find me. And I've been pretty active over there. So go check it out. Because it does not seem like I'm going to be tweeting this week with the Bears game. So if you want my analysis or anything on what's going on against the Lions, you're going to have to go over there. And we're also on Instagram, so you can find me there as well.
I'm also on those things, but I'm not very good on Blue Sky or Instagram. You can follow me on X, where I remain active during games.
Do your research.
Okay. We wanted to share a little treat with you here before we bring in our guy Colton Pouncy to preview the Lions. There's some old Hoge Jahns audio that felt fitting for Thanksgiving. We are fairly certain this is from the 2019 victory. It has to be, actually, now that I think about it, because there's Trubisky talking here. And I didn't go in 18, so it has to be 2019. We recorded an episode of Hoge Jahns in the back seat of Ken Fishbane's car, Mr. Fishman.
That's like the funnest fact of all of it. It's not Kevin's car; it's his dad's car.
It's his dad's car, but Kevin's driving, and Jeff Dickerson, who we miss dearly, was sitting shotgun, and that's why this is such good audio, because Johns and I sat in the back. We basically recorded most of this episode, and those two they stayed quiet in the front for like the entire time. And then finally, like JD just couldn't keep his mouth shut and had to chime in on the Trubisky conversation. So it's here's a little old piece one of the better moments from our 10 seasons of doing this Hoge Jahns podcast, from a car coming back from Bears Lions on Thanksgiving.
Well, I had that sign Mitch to the extension story ready to go, but then I figured Johns would write it anyway, so I wouldn't get into it. By the way, Mitch had some horrible games against Green Bay and New Orleans. Adam, come on now. Maybe it's the lack of oxygen in Fishbane's car that
it's hot in here.
You're not remembering that. But
what's our ETA to Steak and Shake? Most importantly,
1 hour 23 minutes to Steak and Shake in Kalamazoo.
As Bart Scott once said, can't wait.
I cannot.
Starving.
We could keep going until we get there, but then Jeff Dickerson would kill us.
He looks.
Enjoyed this. This has been a real eye opener for me. It's been a very educational process, and I'm a big fan. But you've never let me come on anything in the past, so I mean, this is like I have to get literally stuck in a car with you guys for 4 hours to be invited on the podcast. If this is what it takes, I'm in.
There it is.
The memories.
We should have had him on more.
Yeah.
I don't think we knew we could. I don't know. There's all those ESPN rules and stuff.
The Bears won 24-20 that day. They evened up their record at 6-6. Trubisky passed for 3 touchdowns and more than 300 passing yards. The memories, the good memories. That was one of 3 times we went to Steak and Shake on our many trips to Detroit and back in Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we were trying to count up the Thanksgiving games we've been a part of. One of them was in Green Bay.
Yes, one was in Green Bay. I want to say this is 5 or 6. This is our 5th or 6th Thanksgiving since we started covering the team. Covering the Bears on the road. Obviously more in Detroit, but we had that one in Green Bay as well.
Yeah, the Green Bay one was my favorite because my family usually does Thanksgiving in the North Woods of Wisconsin. So I was able to just drive from there over to Green Bay the day of the game. So, all right, well, we do have another Bears-Lions game here. This one's a little bit different. I don't know if you know this, Johns, but the last time the Bears played the Lions on Thanksgiving, 2021, they beat the Lions 16-14 on a walk-off field goal from Cairo Santos. Not that, last-second field goals have been a storyline at all recently. The Bears also were on a 5-game losing streak going into that Thanksgiving game. Never mind, though.
It's just coming all together.
Yeah, never mind, though, that the Lions were 0-10-1.
Oh, but Dan Campbell was still their coach.
He was. He was in his first year as coach. 0-10-1 after that game. So maybe a little bit of a different matchup this time to end the 5-game losing streak, but nonetheless, let's break it down. Let's bring in our guy, Colton Pouncy, who covers the Lions for The Athletic. Always love having him on the show. And you can check out the Welcome to Detroit pod, DET pod is the actual handle there. What's going on, man? Thanks for jumping on again.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
Colton, for a game like this, does a lot of family from Chicago come out to Detroit to watch this one for you?
No, my family's selfish, so they're staying in Chicago. I will be driving to Chicago after the game for the weekend. Just kind of staying there, get some time with them. But no, they make me work and they watch the game from home while they eat food without me, and I get to join them later.
What if the Bears were better? Would they come?
Maybe. It's hard to say, but I think they just enjoy being lazy on the couch, I would say, more so than anything.
Johns, it's perfect. He can join the Steak and Shake carpool.
Kalamazoo.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You might have to be on another podcast, though.
Yeah, maybe not.
Well, let's start with just where expectations are with this team, the run that they've been on. Right now, the Lions are currently Super Bowl favorite, which, I think is a little weird to everybody who's ever lived during these 3-4 decades, even longer with the Detroit Lions. But they certainly are on a roll. What's it like covering this team right now?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's always easier to cover a team when they're winning and guys are in good spirits and good moods in the locker room and whatnot. But I mean, just being in the city, I'll say that like it's been a lot of fun. Like you can tell fans are really invested in this team. They've been waiting for a team like this pretty much their whole lives. The Lions, what they're doing for the city, the way they're winning these games, a lot of blowouts. Like it doesn't feel real in some ways. It feels like, wait, these are the Lions we're talking about. But that's what they've done this year, and they look like a juggernaut. They look like one of the NFL's elites. I'm not sure how many times you could have said that in franchise history in the past, but they're here now, and they're winning these games and doing what they got to do.
But they've lost a lot of games on Thanksgiving, right? Like
Yeah.
7 in a row.
7 in a row. So is that just a matter of, I guess, the old Lions still being the old Lions, or is this team just like completely different and we're not worried about this? You have the Bears coming in and off an overtime loss, so things seem to be favoring the Lions this year.
Yeah, this will be Campbell's 4th Thanksgiving game, and obviously lost the previous 3. I thought last year they had a pretty good shot of winning, but it just wasn't their day. The Packers kind of came in and did what they did and forced a lot of turnovers. I think that game kind of got them back on track and gave them confidence. And we saw the run that Green Bay went on last year. So yeah, I don't know what it is about Thanksgiving that the Lions can't get it done even under Campbell. I think 2 years ago they lost to the Bills. That was a close one. So they've been in these contests, but just haven't been able to get it done. But they're definitely motivated. That's something that they talked about this week. Like, we want to get one for our fans. Players and coaches are tired of being angry on Thanksgiving and going home upset after that game and having that bleed over to their families. So they're definitely motivated to get it done this year, and I think they have the team to do it.
That kind of seems like it seems like they've sort of gotten over the hump on some of these things one by one, and now the Thanksgiving. I mean, is that been a huge talking point? It sounds like it. You said they're motivated. You would think that I don't know. To me, just from the outsider looking at Dan Campbell, the type of things that he focuses on, the things that he says, I feel like this would be like a big motivation thing for him this week to get this team like over the hump. Like, come on, we can't lose to this struggling Bears team on a 5-game losing streak on Thanksgiving. Got to do it for the fans.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of Dan's best assets and attributes is that he's a master motivator, and he kind of knows how to push the right buttons. And the Lions have really had a lot of revenge games. I don't know if they would call it that themselves, but they started the season playing the Rams on Sunday Night Football, got that one done. They hadn't beat the Seahawks in a couple of years. I think they came to Detroit 2 straight years and beat them. They got that one done on Monday Night Football. Went to Dallas and beat the Cowboys for the first time in 3 years. Under Dan Campbell. So they've had a lot of these games on the schedule where it's like, well, we have the team to do it now, so let's just do it, and Thanksgiving's another one. They talked about that this week. The players want it. Jared Goff said he really wants it. So I do think they'll be motivated. Not that they wouldn't otherwise, because, every team wants to win every game, but especially for this one, when you are one of the premier Thanksgiving teams and you haven't gotten it done in 7 years, you're definitely, there's probably a little bit of extra motivation there to get it done.
How great is Ben Johnson, and why will he be the next head coach of the Chicago Bears?
Ben Johnson's great at what he does. I think one of his best skills is how he sequences plays. So he'll show you one look at a one formation, and the defense might key in on that and think, oh, next time they see it, we know what they're doing. Then he'll come back and hit you with a completely different play out of that same formation that confuses defenses. So the way he sequences, the way he times his plays, it's all calculated. And the way he puts guys in a position to succeed is another thing that he does a great job at. Takes whatever talents at his disposal and gets the most out of that group. So definitely is going to be a hot coaching candidate again. The previous 2 cycles, he's turned down jobs. Now, the only thing I'll say about the Bears, because on paper, it's a really good job, right? You got a young quarterback, some talented players on offense, stingy defense. But the only thing I would say is Ben Johnson loves Dan Campbell. He's probably his favorite coach he's ever worked for. I don't know if he wants to play him twice a year in the same division. That's the only holdup I would have. And for a guy that's been pretty picky with these jobs, that might play a factor. And there might be some other openings that he would like to. But other than that, I mean, the Bears job, if it opens up, is a really good one.
What do you think he's looking for then? Like, okay, let's rule out the Bears. No, maybe rule him back in for this question. Like, what do you think his ideal situation would be? Like in terms of ownership, quarterback in place, maybe retaining some other players. Like, what do you think would appeal to him across the league?
He's pretty much told us what he wants. He wants good ownership because he sees that with the Lions right now. The way Sheila Hamp runs the team, doesn't really meddle, doesn't give the way, listens to the people around her. I think he sees that in the structure that the Lions have in place with Sheila, with Brad Holmes, with Dan Campbell, and how in sync they are. He doesn't want dysfunction at the top. So I think it starts at the top with ownership. Going down from there, a GM that he can work with, a GM that he trusts, that will give him the type of players that he needs to succeed, which I don't think that will be an issue. But he definitely, I think he's a guy that craves structure more than anything, because one thing he told us this past spring was, how many coaches get hired in a coaching cycle? How many of those coaches are gone after a year or two? And it's because maybe everything wasn't right for them. So I think he's looking for that perfect situation where he can step in, everything's aligned, and he can come in and win right away. And the other thing I would say is I think he wants a good quarterback in place. I think he was up for the Commander's job, ended up kind of turning that one down. I don't think he really wants to rebuild. I think he kind of wants something in place already. I think he was interested in the Chargers job with Justin Herbert last year, just because he felt like he can kind of turn that thing around with a young quarterback that was already doing some things in the league. So, with all that said, I think the Bears check off a lot of those boxes. Again, it's just, to me, the loyalty that he has to Dan Campbell, it might trump some of that stuff. And if he has a similar opportunity elsewhere, he might take that if it's equal. That's the only thing I would say.
How is he as a motivator? Like, how would you describe him? Compare and contrast him to basically what Dan Campbell is, because that's been a talking point here in Chicago too. It's like, well, how many of these, sort of nice guys, instead of like the big alpha types, the Dan Campbells, the Mike Ditkas of the world, because I think a lot of people here are kind of sick of the type of coach that the Bears have consistently tried to hire. How is he in terms of, leading a room, commanding a room, and how do you think that would translate to him as a head coach?
Yeah, that's the big question out here. You see Aaron Glenn on the other side on the defense, and he's definitely cut from the same cloth as Dan Campbell. Like, those are both Texas A&M guys, both former players in this league. Those guys know how to lead a locker room. We just haven't really seen Ben do it too much because he hasn't been asked to do that here. A lot of offensive coordinators end up getting head coaching jobs, and they're just kind of OCs masking as head coaches, and they kind of crash and burn. We've seen that in Chicago a couple of times. With Ben, the one thing I'll say is I think being tied to Dan for as long as he has, and he worked with him in Miami, was hired by Patricia here in Detroit, but was retained by Campbell in one of his first moves when he got here. I think just spending so much time around Dan is going to help him understand the total picture instead of just focusing on one side of the ball, like a lot of these coaches do, and that gets them in trouble. So I think Ben, just being around Dan and seeing the way he operates, seeing the way he leads a team, he's not going to be Dan Campbell, but he can definitely take some elements of what works for Dan and install that in his own team when he eventually gets one of those jobs.
I'm glad you brought up Aaron Glenn because I wanted to ask about him as well. His defense, I think, is the difference this year compared to the previous 2 years. I mean, the numbers are just drastically different. So what do you make of his head coaching candidacy, and like maybe take us through the emergence of his defense being a top 5 unit?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, he's a guy that's been, getting interviews for years as a head coach. I think the Saints interviewed him in 2022, almost hired him, but went in-house with Dennis Allen. He had some looks last year, but didn't get anything. I think a lot of teams are probably just waiting for the defense to come along because he has everything else. He's got the mentality that you want as a head coach. He sees the full picture. In the offseason, he goes and talks to offensive coordinators and, spends time talking to college coaches just to say, hey, why is this working for you? Just so he can be as well-rounded as possible. So he pairs that with extreme leadership that he and Dan kind of, orchestrate here in Detroit. Dan will often ask Aaron to come and speak to the team. I believe there's a scene in Hard Knocks a couple years ago where he's talking to players and he's going around saying, hey, Jonah Jackson, you went to Ohio State, you transferred from Rutgers, you went from losing every week to winning every week. It's time to get that feeling back. This team has to believe that can win every week. So that's sort of the way that he is and how he kind of approaches the game. And really, it's trickled down to the rest of his defense now. There's no excuses made, even when they lose guys like Aiden Hutchinson, Derek Barnes, Alex Anzalone. They're down a lot of talent, and they're still getting it done because they play for each other. They believe in each other. I know it sounds kind of cliche, but it's really that simple here in Detroit. You got guys that are talented. They play hard for the guy next to them. And I think that starts at the top with Dan and Aaron.
A little bit of breaking news here to react to here in the NFC North. Jordan Schultz reporting that Daniel Jones is signing with the Minnesota Vikings.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So little quarterback depth behind Sam Darnold. Because their backup quarterback situation not great. So any reaction to that?
Nick Mullins came in against the Bears on 3rd down.
Hey.
You
know what? You're right.
Crossing route and got a 1st down in a kind of an important situation in the 4th quarter. Don't you forget that.
I watched that guy throw for 400 yards against the Lions. So yeah, I mean, Kevin O'Connell can get the most out of any quarterback. I'm convinced.
Hey, can you help us sort through this injury report a little bit? I know it's hard, in these Thursday games when everybody's just sort of going through a walkthrough and stuff, but there are some key names on the Lions injury report. Who are the guys that might actually be in doubt of playing Thursday?
Yeah, the 3 guys Dan keeps coming back to. It's left tackle Taylor Decker, cornerback Carlton Davis, and wide receiver / punt returner Khalif Raymond. So those are 3 guys he's really not sold on yet, as we talked to him yesterday at least. And those guys all had kind of lingering injuries. Carlton's been dealing with a thumb injury. I think he broke his thumb and is playing through it anyway, and then hurt his knee on Sunday versus the Colts. Taylor Decker also hurt his knee, and Khalif Raymond, we saw him in a walking boot and crutches after that game. He hurt his foot. So I think he's probably out for this one. The other 2 might try to play through it, but I think the Lions might just be smart with them and try to say, like, hey, we'll rest you for this week, get you back next week. In terms of other guys, I think DJ Reader was on there with an illness. I would expect him to play. David Montgomery, he got hurt. I think he hurt his shoulder. We saw him in the blue tent with the shoulder pads off against the Colts. He was able to come back on the sideline in pads and didn't go back in. I asked him after the game, could he have gone back in if they needed him? He said, yeah, but we have bigger fish to fry. So kind of
there's no way he's missing this game.
No way he's missing that one. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown had a knee injury too, but he says he's playing through it. So I think it'll be good for that one.
All right, the Lions are a 10-point favorite in this one. Thanksgiving games can be crazy. How do you see it playing out in Detroit?
Yeah, I did Kevin Fishbane's game preview. I gave him a few sentences for that. And I think my initial one was probably, I think I said 31-20 or 31-23. So I thought it was probably closer than some people. And then he goes, oh, I think I have him losing by 25. And that made me rethink my evaluation of it. Yeah. So I'll go with, I think the Lions being a little bit shorthanded here. I don't know if Taylor Decker's going to play. If he doesn't, I think those edge rushers can kind of, Montez Sweat gave him trouble last year. Carlton Davis, if he's not able to play, you're basically starting a rookie corner and Terrion Arnold, and then maybe a guy like Kendall Vildor, who had a really rough game against the Colts. So I think some of these receivers could have good days. So it could be closer than probably most people think, and even maybe the line suggests. So I don't know. I was going back and forth. Kevin kind of like spooked me a little bit that my prediction was a little too close. I don't know. But I think in terms of score, I'll go with like 31-20. I think that sounds fine. I'll go with that.
Fair enough. Thanks, man. We always appreciate the insight on the Lions. Enjoy covering a winner, and we'll talk to you in a few weeks because these
I'll
teams
see you
come
tomorrow
up again soon. Yeah,
for sure. Thanks, guys.
All right, there he is. Colton Pouncy does a great job. Follow him on Twitter at Colton_Pouncy. Chicago guy. You should be following him. And obviously with the Lions, they're not going away anytime soon. You're going to want to be getting that coverage probably maybe even through the beginning of February. You know how big Super Bowl week is for me, Johns. I'm already looking at scouting out the teams that I'd like to see there for storylines. I would love to see the Lions make it to New Orleans.
I would really look forward to your sit-down interview with David Montgomery as he goes through the Matt Nagy era.
Yeah, just do the whole.
It could be insightful. No, well, there were some some things at the end with Matt Nagy and the quarterbacks that I'm sure would make for very interesting conversation. So just to put that in your notes, if the Lions just happen to get there and you happen to get access to David Montgomery, see what he says. And you could have, you can have Matt Nagy on the other side.
Yeah. There's the matchup. I mean, that's what's favored right now. By the way, speaking of all that, Check out the 85 with Cole Kmet. We did a live episode last night. The first thing I brought up 2021 when they went to Detroit for Thanksgiving. Like the first thing out of his mouth was, "Remember how crazy of a week that was?"
Mm-hmm.
That was wild.
Oh, the memories.
I remember reading. I think I remember being on the plane to Detroit, reading.
Patch.com.
Didn't Dan Pompei end up reporting something kind of on George McCaskey and about how like nobody was going to get fired? I feel like that was Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had some clarification. That was a wild week. And the Bears still won. So they could do it again.
Adversity overcome.
Let's get to 3 big questions.
3 big questions. The Ben Johnson edition. Let's see how much research Adam Hoge has been doing.
Ooh.
Number 1. Which former Bears offensive coordinator inspired Ben Johnson to get into coaching?
Wow. I don't know this off the top of my head. It wasn't too long ago that he was just like a quality control guy. So this can't be someone. Is it recent or older?
Older. You have to think of where he played football.
Is it Martz?
No. Save that name for later, though. So he was a walk-on quarterback at North Carolina, where his offensive coordinator was
Mitch Trubisky.
John Shoop.
Oh God, I just crossed him off my list.
How about that for a fun fact?
That's not. Why do people at The Athletic not understand that those are not fun facts?
Do your research. That was pretty good. I was impressed with myself right there.
That was good. I did not know that. That was good stuff.
Do your research.
Number 2, which 2 former Bears offensive coordinators are credited as having an influence on Ben Johnson's offensive scheme?
So one of them is Martz.
Mm-hmm.
So does he hate tight ends?
No, I believe in his background, he was actually a tight ends coach. Okay. Yes, the Detroit Lions tight ends coach 2020, 2021. Also, the Dolphins head coach. To say head coach, tight ends coach in 2015. There's one more name here.
It doesn't feel like a good idea to be influenced by Bears offensive coordinator.
Hey, I'm just doing my research.
Okay. Who's the other one? I don't know. My brain hurts.
Adam Gase.
Okay. From the Dolphins time.
From the Dolphins. He was part of Adam Gase's staff, received a couple of promotions, I believe, going from assistant wide receivers coach to wide receivers coach, and then moving to the Lions in 2019. Hired by?
With the Lions?
Yes. Colton actually mentioned his name earlier. Matt Patricia.
Oh, God. These are red flags, man. I'm not going to lie.
Number 3. Which Bears staff member was a graduate assistant at Boston College 1 year before Ben Johnson? Which Bears staff member was a graduate assistant at Boston College 1 year before Ben Johnson?
You said staff member. Does that mean it's not a coach?
It could be anyone in the organization.
Is it Poles?
It is Ryan Poles.
Wow. That makes sense. Hey, I got one right.
Ben Johnson was GA at Boston College in 2009, 2010, before becoming the tight ends coach in 2011. Ryan Poles was only there for 1 year at BC, his alma mater, in 2008, before moving into scouting with the Kansas City Chiefs.
What does it say that the 3 big questions I had in this game were just 3 trivia questions about the Lions offensive coordinator.
I tried to make it interesting.
No, it was. I can see where your head's at right now as we go into Thanksgiving. You're on the coaching search.
I'm on the coaching search. I'm
Yeah.
going to be hungry tomorrow. Might be a little cranky because that food goes fast in Detroit.
Get
if
there
you're-
early.
If you're going
and
for
fill up.
seconds, though, I
Yeah.
made the mistake of trying to get seconds one year, like 20 minutes before kickoff. I'm like, oh, I'll fill myself up because Detroit doesn't provide food after the game. I'll fill myself up. Nope, gone. That's probably the year I was starving on the way to Steak and Shake.
Mm. Well, they always got that chili dog stand that I've never dared to try.
No, I'm not touching that.
I
Is
think
this the year? I might regret that. I got an early flight back home from Detroit. That could have some repercussions.
I'm trying to think. It might have been our old friend Josh Lucas. I remember one game like going to the bathroom maybe at halftime or in the middle of the game or something, and I think it was Josh was just standing there like getting a chili dog at the chili dog stand. I'm like, you're gonna regret that.
A little Coney Island dog.
Yeah. All right, over unders.
Over unders. This is from Surge and Windy City War Room. They kind of bonded over this on Twitter, on X, when they both sent this as a reply to me. 1.5 times they mentioned Ben Johnson and the Bears job.
Oh, that's a good number. I think probably just once. It seems like almost like an awkward thing to bring up more than once.
You might get some passing reference there. That's why he's going to interest the rest of the league. And, so, and one of the broadcasters goes, maybe the Chicago Bears. You might get that.
Yeah, I'm going to take under.
From Bear Butler, Eberflus challenges that are obviously not getting overturned. Over under 1.5.
Under
what did you make?
Under only because I don't know that there'll be more than one challenge in the game.
What did you make of his explanation for why he threw the flag on the explosive? Was it Jordan Addison reception down the right sideline?
Yeah, it's a terrible explanation. You just because you gave up an explosive play, you challenge it.
Almost like it's a timeout to regain some momentum back.
And then they don't use a timeout when they need to use a timeout when it's 4th and 4 and the quarterback doesn't have the right play call.
Right, and they're yelling at Cairo Santos, get off the darn field. So that's the vibe I'm getting from Hallis Hall this week in terms of why there's 3 Ben Johnson questions this week.
100%. You could just hear it in the way they're talking or not. I thought it was a stark contrast how the guys that kind of screwed up on special teams went out of their way to defend Richard Hightower without even really being asked about it. Nobody's doing that for Matt Eberflus right now.
You had Jalen Johnson basically going, well, we're not put in positions to succeed all the time. Red flag up in the air, and they're not challenging a play either.
Yeah, not the one that's going to be picked up real quick and put right back in the pocket. Maybe that's the fix, is just take it away from Flus.
I'm going under. You may not have any challenges. This is from Jay Schwait. Over under half Bears special teams mishaps. What say you, special teams coordinator of Carmel High School?
Yeah, unfortunately, this has become a thing. I guess that's a little bit vague. I mean, are we just talking, a critical mistake? Are we talking a penalty?
Well, penalties are often now too. I don't know how Daniel Hardy did not get one.
No, that was
really guy out of bounds.
He literally launched himself like a missile into somebody out of bounds. If we're including penalties here, I will take the over on it.
Yeah, me too. Do you think the Lions follow the lead of the Vikings and Packers and get the block field goal? That would be insane if it's 3 games in a row of a blocked field goal.
I'm going to say no because they're indoors.
Oh, so the trajectory, did I say that right? Trajectory
Yeah.
is changing from Cairo
It'll
Santos.
be a little bit easier for Cairo, just enough. And he did get that last kick a little bit higher. So I'm gonna say no on the block field goal.
This is from Mr. Roboto. David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs touchdowns. Over under 3.5.
That's a lot. I'll take the under, but I would say they get at least 2.
I think they're going to be flirting with 3. 4 seems like a lot because I think Jared Goff is going to get his through the air. Now you might get a receiving touchdown from one of these guys. But I'll 3 seems like a safe number. From Clayton, total number of Lions punts, 1.5.
Oh, wow. I will take the over, but that's an interesting angle because I do think the Lions are going to be moving the ball plenty in this game. But I will say they get at least 2.
Yeah, 2. 2 sounds good. Worth, the Friendly Village, over under pictures of turkeys on the table or in a field, 7.5.
That's over. They go turkeys all over the place on these broadcasts.
It's the graphics. You're gonna get like 5 within the first 5 minutes. Johnny Gold, over under shots of Lions players laughing on the sidelines, having a great Thanksgiving, like 7.5.
Probably over by the time this thing's over. Yeah. Especially if you include the post-game celebration. So, all right. Those are the over-unders. We need to get into our predictions for this game. It is CBS, not Fox, CBS game, 11:30. That means Jim Nantz and Tony Romo, Bears at Lions. This spread was 10.5. It is now down to 10. Little bit of movement back towards the Bears. Still easily the biggest spread of the day among these Thanksgiving games. We'll start with
Bold predictions.
our bold prediction.
Here's my bold prediction.
Okay.
The Bears will have the lead at halftime.
Wow.
Could only be by 1 point, but they're going to have the lead at halftime.
I kind of like that one. I like that one. My bold prediction is that the Bears score either a defensive touchdown or a special teams touchdown. They almost got that kick return touchdown the other day. It just seems like it's been too long. Like these defenses just do some big game changing play. I mean, I guess they did force that fumble at the goal line against the Vikings, but I'm talking like actually scoring. So, yeah, I'm gonna go with that.
See, I can see a strip sack of Jared Goff because I feel like I've seen that a lot, but I'm not sure how much it's really going to matter. Maybe it matters in the first half when the Bears build their lead.
Yeah.
But so my prediction, this is what I wrote in The Athletic: Lions 38, Bears 24.
Wow.
This game will play out like the others have against the NFC North. The Bears will show signs of life on offense with Williams, but there will be too many issues on defense to win. If the Bears couldn't stop Sam Darnold, then there's no slowing down Jared Goff. The Lions are first in points scored, second in total yards, sixth in passing yards, and fourth in rushing yards. They lead the league with a plus 177 point differential. So
yeah.
Lions cover 38-24. Big second half comeback if you listen to my prediction.
You know, it was one of the more remarkable games this year was how many times did Goff throw interceptions against the Texans again? Was it 5 or 6?
He threw a bunch and they still won.
They still scored 26 points in that game. Like, think about how many possessions you gave up on those turnovers. and they still scored 26. So I just don't like where the Bears defense is headed right now. It's really unfortunate timing because the offense seems to be coming around. I think that we have actually seen over the last few years the Bears match up pretty well against this Lions team. Now, I think this Lions team is on a different level this year. I think they've taken their game to another level, especially offensively. I do find the injuries interesting. That could leave them a little shorthanded. I don't know how much of a difference that's really going to make. But I do have to say my lock of the year, Johns, before the season started, my lock of the year was that the Bears would cover on Thanksgiving because of the Lions' 7-game losing streak on Thanksgiving, the way the Bears would match up. And even though the Bears turned out to be way worse than we thought they were, I'm still going to ride with that. I still think that a lot of those same factors are still in play. I like what Thomas Brown is doing offensively. So I'm going to take the Lions to win this game 34-27. 34-27. I think the Bears hang. I think this, and then they just, give up a late touchdown, late score, whatever it is. But it would not shock me if this is still a one possession game in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I could foresee this being like a 1-touchdown game in the fourth quarter. And that 4-minute drive by the Lions puts the Bears away. And they just do it by running the football straight through the defense. Mm-hmm. Where the Bears have injuries as well. And it doesn't even matter. I mean, the Bears have to be able to stop the opposing running games like whatsoever this season.
All right. Well, there it is. Your predictions for Thanksgiving, at least the Bears Lions. We are going to pick these other two games. It's so early in the week. We're just going to pick the Thanksgiving games and leave it there. We'll be back on Friday with a post-game episode. But the second game of the day.
What question are you asking me?
Fox 3:30. The Giants and Cowboys, one of the more awful quarterback matchups although we've seen some bad ones in Bears-Lions games on Thanksgiving.
Fun fact, Mitch Trubisky that day, to bring this podcast full circle, do you know the quarterback that he defeated on the other side?
David Blau.
Nice job. Well done.
Yeah. I think he's got to be out of the league now. He might be still somewhere.
Make your pick. I'll look it up.
He might even be the third stringer for the Lions still because he was still there when they did Hard Knocks. Anyway, this is Tommy DeVito versus Cooper Rush. The Cowboys are favored by 3.5. I am going to roll with the Cowboys. This is a classic game. The Cowboys will just go ahead and lose after getting that win over the Commanders. That was a sloppy win on Sunday, but they did get it done. It just seems to me like the Giants have quit. They're pissed off at what happened with Daniel Jones. Short week. They get up. They got to go to Dallas. I don't know. Because it's the Cowboys, I guess I could see it happening where the Giants somehow win this thing, but I'm going to take the Cowboys. I think that they handle this thing.
This is going to be one hilariously ugly bad game on Thanksgiving. I'm going to take the Lions on this. Here's your fun fact. David Blau is now an assistant quarterbacks coach for the Washington Commanders.
Wow.
The more you know.
So he's why Jaden Daniels
he's struggling now.
Yeah, he is. I kind of predicted that. Second half Cliff.
Mm-hmm.
Daniels seems a little banged up too. Again, something we talked about with him would be a factor. So yeah. All right. And then
hello everyone. This is Al Rivron.
NBC. This is a good game. Thursday night. 7:20. A couple weeks ago, this didn't seem like a good game. Now it does. Dolphins have turned things around with Tua. They go to Green Bay. The Packers, 3.5-point favorites. Are you surprised this isn't bigger?
Well, bigger in terms of a Packer spread. No, I think the Dolphins are, with Tua back, they're just a different football team. They can put up points. They have a lot of weapons. If Tua stays on the field, they're just a different team. And I think this is a game or you get a little bit of an upset where you have the warm weather team coming into the cold, coming into the tundra, and getting one of those wins they talk about for weeks. So give me Tua and the Dolphins upsetting the Packers on the road at Lambeau Field.
Wow.
Did you see
Sure.
that? The no look. What was the play? No look behind the back play that Tua had to, I think it was Jalen Waddle. Did you see that play?
He went behind the back?
It was a no look. Well, I guess it wasn't behind the back, but the receiver was coming from that way, and crazy play. Crazy
All
play
right.
by the Miami Dolphins and Mike McDaniel there. Your
I
guy.
have to check that out. I missed that. I was just looking up the weather in Green Bay tomorrow night. 27 degrees at 7 o'clock. 10-mile-an-hour wind.
That's not that bad. Not
I
that
mean,
bad
it
at
is
all.
if you're coming from Miami.
Fine. They'll be fine.
A little windy too.
They seem motivated by the elements if you're tracking what they're saying, at least in what's being shared on social media.
Well, here's what I want to say about the Dolphins, because the problem that Mike McDaniel's had the last couple of years is his team falling off late in the season. And obviously the Tua thing was a huge factor in why they were struggling before, the factor. But I do wonder if this team is set up a little bit differently now this year, in that they can be stronger from Thanksgiving on compared to collapsing the way that they have. And I think this game will tell us a lot about that. With the 3.5, I'm going to take the Dolphins at least to cover. I don't feel great about it, though, because I also could see the Packers just sort of handling this thing from start to finish. But I like your upset pick. I'm intrigued by it, and I'm really excited about this game.
Just not the other two.
I'm excited for Bears Lions.
No,
I'm glad the way this sets up. I'll be working during the second game. I don't have to worry about it. And then I'm going to my sister's, where she is married to a Packer fan. That's my brother-in-law, the one who had the stroke. And I will taunt him the entire game if the Dolphins are winning. And I won't feel bad about it. Because he taunts me pretty much every week.
You know what? If you're gonna ask me for a final thought, my one final thought is the Thomas Brown story is what makes this, at least this, how should I say it? Like this season where change feels inevitable. Like it just feels different because there's a different storyline taking place. Like there's some positives with Caleb Williams and this young offensive coordinator connecting. I think it's something to watch. I think something is working there. I think he's getting buy-in from all the offensive players. And I think you're going to see some more of that on the field in Detroit. I'm just not sure what the defense is going to bring against the Lions.
Yeah, it just seems like they're trending the wrong way, and this is the wrong time to play this team. But it is Thanksgiving, so you never know. I do think it'll be an entertaining football game, though. All right, well, we're out of here. Again, make sure you check out HoganJahns.com. Starting Thursday, 7 o'clock. Our Black Friday sales event will be ongoing through Sunday. A lot of great merch up there. Great time to jump in and get all that stuff for the holidays. You can follow Johnsy at Adam Johns. All his work in The Athletic, theathletic.com/Hoge Jahns is where you go to subscribe for that. Again, recommend you find me on Blue Sky right now if you want coverage tomorrow, before, during, and after the game, because I'm not very optimistic that'll be coming on
Blueski
Twitter. Blueski. Enjoy the game. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I hope you have an awesome day, regardless of what the Bears do or don't do. Thankful for all you guys that continue to support this show in every way you do, on YouTube, podcast, social media, wherever it is. We are very thankful here at Hoge Jahns for all of you guys. Enjoy the day, and we will be back Friday with a post-game episode. Maybe more. We'll have to see. But that's our plans on Friday, so we will talk to you then.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. See ya.